Hello everyone, my name is DC, and I will be telling you how to make it as an indie game developer. This video will be a presentation giving you a step-by-step guide. Now, this one might not be as obvious as it seems, but step one to being an indie game developer is to have a job. I know, crazy. However, you need to have a job so then you are able to support yourself first and foremost, because you have to be able to pay your bills and not believe that you're going to drop a game and it will instantly be successful. For around 90% of video game developers don't make any money off of their games if they're not with a studio. So first and foremost, you need to have a job. If you have a job as well, you'll be able to purchase new assets, purchase new dev tools, which are things that are used to create video games, and you'll be able to make the games better by hiring voice actors, artists, so on and so forth, to help you make the game better and more likely to be successful. Now, step number two is to have an arbitrary knowledge of coding. Now, this step can sort of be skipped because you don't need to know how to code exactly to make games. However, it is very helpful if you know how to code, because if you know how to code, you can make games from scratch. But if you don't know how to code, you can use dev tools like RPG Maker and other dev tools like it to make games that are pretty much pre-coded for you. However, they lack individuality because they are RPGs, aka role-playing games, and you won't really be able to do things that are outside of the RPG realm. Now, step three is to know what kind of game you want to make. Now, previously I mentioned using RPG Maker. Obviously, that's for RPGs, role-playing games, but there are many game types. There's first-person shooters, RPGs, visual novels, all of the sorts. You need to know what kind of game you want to make, and once you know that, you'll know what kind of dev tool to use. So for RPG Maker, you can use RPG Maker. It's a role-playing game dev tool. But if you want to make a first-person shooter, your best shot will be to use Unreal Engine, because it's 3D modeling, and most of modern AAA games use Unreal Engine. That's probably your best bet. However, if you want to make a fighting game, per se, depending on how in-depth you want to go with your fighting game, you can either use Unreal Engine or you can use Unity. If you use Unity, that'll make it possible to make games that are 2.5D, which pretty much means that the characters have 3D models, however the camera doesn't freely move around those 3D models, so you can render less. And also, you can make it so then the characters can be in the foreground, but what they do interact with the background. The best example I have of this currently off the top of my head is Dragon Ball FighterZ. Now, step four of becoming an indie game developer. Once you have your game made, now you need to have a way of putting it out there. So, the game will not be made perfect in your first go. So what should you do? You should release the game as an early access game. Once you release it as an early access game, you can start to gain feedback on what people think you should do. Now, the more feedback that you get, the more you'll be able to make the game better. And so, constantly getting feedback from players will help you not only build a community, but also build up your game. So, these are things that you should keep in mind. Now, step five. Try, and try again. Not every game you make will be successful. That couldn't be said any better than by Scott Cawthon. He is the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's. He made around 7 to 10 games. None of them did well. His final try was Five Nights at Freddy's. That final game made him rich. So no matter what, just keep trying, and eventually you will get there. However, if you don't follow the other first steps, you may never get there. So please, take these 5 steps to heart, and I truly believe you can become a video game developer.